Tonight, we unravel one of South Korea's most unsettling locked room mysteries. A case where betrayal wore the face of friendship, and innocence was suffocated in silence. This was not the work of strangers in the night. It was the act of someone trusted, someone welcomed, someone close. This is the Geoyeo-dong locked room murder case. In December 2003, police were called to an apartment in Geoyeo-dong, Songpa-gu, Seoul. Inside, they discovered a crime scene that seemed impossible. 30-year-old Kim Mi-yeon was found dead. Her 3-year-old son and 10-month-old daughter were also lifeless, their tiny bodies showing signs of suffocation. The doors and windows were locked from the inside. There were no sign of forced entry. At first glance, it looked like an unsolvable puzzle, a textbook locked room murder. At first, suspicion fell on Kim herself. Could this have been a tragic murder-suicide? Investigators considered it carefully. The children's meals had been prepared, suggesting this was an ordinary day. Kim showed no history of depression or violence. Then came the detail that shattered the theory. A small, torn piece of paper, clenched in Kim's hand. Her final act was not despair. It was resistance. It was a clue. The investigation soon turned towards someone close to the family, a woman surnamed Lee, described as a longtime friend of Kim. At first, Lee appeared to grieve alongside the others, but detectives noticed the mask slip, inconsistent stories, nervous behavior, and small injuries that didn't match her account. A deeper search revealed damning evidence. Hidden materials suggested careful planning. A modified plastic bottle, tape, and written notes revealed a staged scenario intended to disguise the murders as suicide. This was not the act of impulse. It was methodical. Under the weight of the evidence, Lee confessed. Prosecutors later revealed that jealousy and obsession fueled her crimes. Lee harbored feelings for Kim's husband and resented Kim's stable family life. In her twisted reasoning, eliminating Kim and the children was a way to claim what she believed she deserved. It was betrayal in its cruelest form. In 2004, Lee was convicted of the murders and sentenced to life imprisonment. The verdict rested on 3 pillars: forensic proof of suffocation, the incriminating tools found in the apartment, and her own admission. The court ruled this a triple homicide carried out with premeditation and deception. Relatives of Kim later spoke of their disbelief. A friend they had welcomed into their lives had destroyed their family from within. To them, no sentence could balance the scales of justice. To understand the weight of Lee's punishment, we need to step briefly into South Korean criminal law. Under Korea's penal code, murder is punishable by either the death penalty, life imprisonment, or a fixed term of more than 5 years. In cases involving multiple victims, prosecutors often push for the harshest possible sentence. In Lee's case, prosecutors considered the death penalty. After all, this was not 1 life lost, but 3, including a defenseless 10-month-old child. But Korea has not carried out an execution since 1997, making it what scholars call a de facto abolitionist state. Courts, in practice, lean toward life sentences rather than death, except in the most extraordinary circumstances. A sentence of life imprisonment in Korea does not always mean dying behind bars. After serving 20 years, an inmate may technically apply for parole. However, parole is rare for multiple murderers, especially when crimes involve children. Judges in Lee's trial emphasized the premeditated nature of the killings, calling them a betrayal of trust so complete and an act so cruel that society cannot permit her to return. But for the victim's family, the legal language could never match the weight of their loss. Relatives described their grief in raw terms, saying the children's lives had been snatched away in innocence, and that the mother's final act, clutching a note in her hand, was a scream for justice that still echoes. Community members in Geoyeo-dong recalled their unease, with one neighbor telling reporters, "We thought our neighborhood was safe, and that this woman was a friend. Afterward, we looked at trust itself differently." These perspectives remind us that legal closure does not erase human absence. The sentence may have settled the court's books, but for those left behind, there is no parole from memory. Forensic psychologists emphasized how Lee's jealousy metastasized into violence. Unlike crimes of financial desperation or random rage, this was personal. Lee's proximity to Kim, sharing meals, conversations, the trust of friendship, deepened her envy. The murder was not only about eliminating Kim, it was about erasing the children too, symbols of the life that Lee wanted but did not have. In her delusion, she tried to claim a family by destroying one. It remains one of the most disturbing aspects of this case. 2 decades on, the Geoyeo-dong locked room murders linger in memory, haunting Songpa-gu and echoing far beyond. Korean true crime programs, from unanswered questions to SBS documentaries, revisit the case as one of the most shocking domestic betrayals in modern memory. Online, survivors and commentators reflect not only on the brutality of the act, but on the fragility of trust itself. For the victims' surviving relatives, anniversaries remain a painful reminder. A cousin of Kim once told reporters, "Every holiday, every Chuseok, we feel her missing place at the table. We imagine how the children would have grown, and it tears at us." Neighbors in Geoyeo-dong recall the unease that spread after the crime. One resident admitted years later, "It was not just that 3 lives were gone, it was that they were taken by a friend. We began to wonder, how well do we really know the people we trust?" Community organizations highlighted how domestic familiarity can mask danger, while legal scholars point to lessons about premeditation, trust, and punishment. And yet, despite the public retellings and grief, the memory is not simply one of fear, it is also one of remembrance. Kim is remembered not only as a victim, but as a mother who fought until her last breath. In the words of her family, "She died protecting her children and demanding justice. That is how we choose to honor her." The mixture of grief, vigilance, and remembrance keeps Geoyeo-dong case alive, not only as a criminal file, but as a warning, a memorial, and a reminder that betrayal can sometimes come from the people we trust most. The Geoyeo-dong locked room murders are more than just a story about death. They are a story of trust, envy, and the destruction of innocence. Kim and her children were not failed by strangers. They were betrayed by someone they called a friend. If this episode moved you, please like, subscribe, and comment with the next story you'd like Court of the Crane to investigate. Because remembering these victims is more than memory, it is vigilance. And in their memory, we must continue to hold power accountable and guard against the shadows that hide in plain sight.